Raypak, part of the Rheem family of companies. As a reminder to all of our participants, the instruction provided in this training is intended for qualified and experienced professionals. If you are not qualified, please do not attempt to apply these instructions on your own. This is another presentation of Raypak's Boiler Bite-Sized Bits. Welcome to a Boiler Bite-Sized Bit. In this presentation, you will learn how to set the Versa dip switches for the XVers Fire Tube Boiler. The Versa board is located in the junction box and is easily accessible from the front. There are 8 dip switches at the bottom of the board. Each has its own function. These are the 8 dip switches, and we will discuss each of them on the following slides. For a single XVers boiler application, plumbed primary-secondary, and without a cold water protection system, dip switch number 1 and 2 are the only ones you need to have on. Dip switch number 1 limits access to some of the menus. This comes in handy when there is the potential for untrained hands working on the equipment. When the access level is limited, a lock icon will show on some of the screens. Turn dip switch number 1 on to regain full menu access. Dip switch number 2 tells the boiler if it is a master or a follower. When there's only one boiler, it is always a master. In cascade systems, there can be only one master. Always use 18-gauge stranded copper wire for cascade communications. Only use non-shielded cable. You can connect up to 7 followers to the master. Use the shortest possible run, not to exceed 200 feet. If you would like to see more information on cascading up to 8 boilers together with one master and 7 followers, please see the Cascade expansion video for more details on that subject. These are FT bus connections. For TN bus connections, see the Cascade expansion video. Cascade connections are polarity sensitive. Always connect A to A and B to B. Always run 18-gauge stranded non-shielded copper wire. Solid core wire can pull out from the end connections when it contracts with thermal changes. Dip switch number 3 turns on the cold water protection options. The XVers can run with an inlet temperature as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so in many cases, cold water protection will not be needed. These menu items will become available with dip switch number 3 turned on. Each will be discussed next. With dip switch number 3 on, this menu will be available in the adjustment section. This is where you make changes to the cold water protection settings. Mix type describes the type of cold water protection system that is present. If it is a 3-way valve like depicted here, then the mix type is valve. If an injection pump is used, like on our X-Therm models, then the mix type is pump. If there are multiple boilers in cascade and the cold water protection is a 3-way valve way down by the decoupler, then the mix type is plant. Mix target is the minimum inlet level the boiler can take. The lowest this can be set to is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. If the mix target is not met within 7 minutes, the boiler can either alarm and keep running or alarm and shut off. The mix lock setting determines this action. The mix speed setting is used for defining the rate of response of the cold water protection system. Generally, medium is best. Mix inverse is used to define which way the spring actuator works for the 3-way valve used on the cold water protection. Different manufacturers set them up differently. If the actuators respond with a 0 to 100% open with a 0 to 10 volt DC signal, then set the mix inverse to off. If the actuator responds with a 0 to 100% open with a 10 to 0 volt DC signal, then set the mix inverse to on. Mix trim allows for a final fine-tuning of the cold water protection system. Scaled from -5 to +5, this allows you to give the system a little nudge one way or the other if necessary. Some through-way valves require a 0 to 20 milliamp signal instead of a 0 to 10 volt DC signal. If the valve selected needs a milliamp signal, then turn on dip switch number 4. A 500 ohm resistor will be required. Dip switch number 5 is not used. Dip switch number 6 will be discussed shortly. Dip switch number 7 is used on indirect cool heaters that are part of our Xtherm family. Dip switch number 8 is not used. Dip switch number 6 controls heater rotation. This is some cool Raypak technology. When in cascade, turn on dip switch number 6 on the master boiler. After 48 hours of burner runtime and the current call for heat is satisfied, then the next boiler in the cascade with the least amount of burner hours will fire on the next call for heat. Now say you have a boiler that's running in perfect harmony with the building, and the boiler is just modulating up and down as needed, but never shutting off. We have a solution for that too. At 60 hours of continuous burner runtime, the boiler will go to target plus differential, putting a small extra shot of heat into the system and then shut off. At that point, the next boiler in the cascade will fire up as above. If you are setting up a single XVers without a cold water protection system, this is how to set the Versa dip switches. Numbers 1 and 2 on. All others off. Be careful in adjusting the dip switches. That soft plastic tab can shear off easily. Use the tip of a ballpoint pen, or better yet, a dip switch tool. If you are using a screwdriver, you might shear off that little tab. That's it for Versa dip switches on the XVers Fire Tube Boiler. Look for more boiler bite-sized bits coming from Raypak. Raypak, engineered to perform, built to last.